Writing to Christians at Galatia, Paul says, "For freedom Christ has set us free." He has in mind religious freedom, not in the sense of being free to practice any religion we want or not, but rather in the sense of being free from having to curry God's favor by certain rituals or to try to achieve a right relationship with God by satisfying God's demands. Paul knows a spiritual freedom in God's grace and the forgiveness of our sins, which is based in the sacrificial and perfect life and death of Jesus and empowered by his rising from the dead. Paul warns of two dangers that are inherent in this freedom. One is the tendency to doubt God's goodness or the completeness of God's grace, to say, well, surely I have to do something, and then that's always followed by the question, but have I done enough? And the answer to that question will always be no. The other is to use this freedom as an opportunity for self-indulgence, to just do whatever you want, whatever you feel like doing without regard to God's will or the reality of goodness and evil. The freedom that Paul sees is the result of a transformation of heart and mind. It comes from accepting this release from the bondage of sin and death and embracing the life for which God created us, human and in God's image. Tomorrow, the United States of America will celebrate our Independence Day holiday. And though they exist in different spheres, spiritual and political freedom do overlap in that they are based on foundational beliefs and they affect how life is lived in the world and with others. The founders understood that all humans have rights, and these rights are not just what people agree that they are, but they are intrinsic to being human, endowed by our Creator. And they translate into certain freedoms that include the freedom from being ruled by others, but rather to self-govern, that is, to have a government that is of the people and by the people and for the people, as Lincoln said. And this, of course, has never been fully implemented or perfectly achieved. It's always challenged by the desire of people to control others, or by the tendency to do whatever you feel like. And both lead to eventual conflict and destruction. And so Paul warns that if you bite and devour one another, take care that you are not consumed by one another. Paul says that living in God's way is summed up by one commandment. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And being freed from self-concern, Paul says we're free to do that. And this is also, it seems to me, good foundation for civil life and a guide for our discourse and the exercise of government. Independence Day this year will be without all the usual trappings and celebrations, but it should be a good occasion for us to think carefully about what it means to be American and what it is to be America. This is Light for Today. I am Pastor Mark Erlaub.